The alliance of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte was one of the Philippines' most powerful coalitions in recent years. The duo swept the 2022 elections, bringing back to power the once reviled family of dictator Ferdinand Marcos Sr.
The President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
But the Marcos-Duterte tandem, which ran under the banner of Uniteam, is no more.
I sought an audience with the President and tendered my resignation as the Secretary of Education.
The resignation of Duterte from the Marcos cabinet marked the end of their short-lived alliance and signals the official start of the brewing conflict between the two camps. Political coalitions in the Philippines are commonly formed based on personal interests rather than ideology, so the collapse of the Marcos-Duterte tandem is not surprising to analysts. But it's important to examine this breakup as the tension between the two former allies could have far-reaching political consequences. To understand why this happened, it's important to look back at how the two scions of the Philippines' most influential political dynasties joined forces for the election. Sara Duterte, then mayor of the southern city of Davao, was expected to compete against Marcos in the presidential race. As daughter of then President Rodrigo, Sara had a huge political capital and was an early favorite in the presidential surveys, with Marcos behind her. But Sara decided to run as vice president, making Marcos the top contender for the presidency. The coalition consolidated Duterte's stronghold in the southern island of Mindanao and Marcos's bailiwick in northern Ilocos region. Their massive political machinery ensured a landslide victory, decimating their political opponents and filling the Congress with allies. But analysts said cracks started to emerge early in the Marcos-Duterte government. After the election, Marcos appointed Duterte as his education minister, even though Duterte said she wanted to take the defense post. And the Marcos-controlled Congress refused to grant Duterte's request for millions of dollars in confidential funds for her budget.
I think what really triggered this is, of course, when the budget of the office of the vice president was suddenly, an issue for the administration. And I think that really hurt Sara Duterte, knowing that, she is within this coalition.
Cracks in the relationship widened as differences in key issues became apparent. On foreign policy, Marcos sought closer ties with the United States and asserted the Philippines' claim in the disputed South China Sea amid Beijing's actions. But his vice president kept her silence. The Marcos administration also supports moves to amend the economic provisions of the Constitution, but Duterte and her entire family have a different view. The Dutertes and their supporters held rallies to oppose moves to amend the 1987 Constitution, which they believe would be used by Marcos to perpetuate himself in power. Those rallies, which were attended by Vice President Duterte, serve as a platform to launch verbal attacks against Marcos. Former President Duterte accused Marcos of being a drug addict and warned him of ouster if he pushes through with the constitutional amendments.
Mr. President, baka susunod ka sa dinaanan ng tatay mo.
The series of attacks did not go unnoticed. But while Marcos tried not to confront his vice president on the issue, his spouse cannot take it any longer. First Lady Lisa Araneta Marcos said she was upset with Sara Duterte's attendance to the rally and admitted she intentionally snubbed her in public events. And in June, Duterte resigned from the Marcos cabinet.
It has come to a point where it has become untenable for her to stay. Because of what happened last year and this year, there was no let-up in the exchange of words.
The latest source of their deepening rift came in August after the government deployed thousands of policemen to arrest a mega-church preacher wanted by FBI and local court for a string of charges, including alleged sex trafficking of children. Pastor Apollo Kibuloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ was the spiritual advisor of former President Duterte and has very close ties with his family. Kibuloy endorsed the Unitim coalition in the 2022 elections. Sara Duterte condemned what she called an abuse of police power and even went on to say that she regretted asking the church members to vote for Marcos in an apparent escalation of feud between the two former allies. With the breakup of two of the Philippines' most powerful politicians, analysts are expecting a political showdown between the two camps in the 2025 midterm elections, and whoever wins in the midterms will have an upper hand in the 2028 presidential elections.
With these midterm elections, she will play as some sort of a patron. People will ask for her endorsement. I expect that she's going to field her own slate of candidates.
Sara Duterte, I think, decided to sever her ties with the administration because of this. She has to make sure that the midterm elections would produce, a political outcome that would favor her for the upcoming presidential elections, like, a majority in the Senate or perhaps, more allies in the House. Because if you have a very strong political opposition in the Senate and in the House, you can, make the president a lame duck president, for the second half of his or her rule. So I think that's the target of, or that's the goal of Sara Duterte.
Well, if this is the case, I doubt if the 2025 elections would be an issue-based election. Once again, it's going to be a popularity contest, and it's going to be some sort of a circus again, with one camp hurling accusations against another camp.